Hello everyone. Subscribe to the channel to get more videos. Also, let us know in the comments what city you are watching from. Now let's begin this one. The laughter hit harder than I expected. My name is Ray. I'm 46 years old. I live in Seattle and manage logistics for a shipping company. It's not glamorous, but it pays well and keeps things running, kind of like I've always done. That night, I was sitting at a sleek restaurant in Capitol Hill, the kind with black velvet booths and craft cocktails that take 10 minutes to make. The table was long and narrow, lit by little gold candles. My wife, Chelsea, was at the head, glowing in her designer dress, flanked by her influencer friends with perfect teeth and louder-than-life voices. She was hosting this dinner for her content expansion milestone. Whatever that meant, I just knew I was footing most of the bill. Somewhere between the third round of cocktails and the start of the truffle risotto, it happened. "So Ray works in, what is it again?" one of the women asked. "Cargo trains." "Trucks," Chelsea corrected with a casual flick of her hand. "He's the king of boxes and forklifts." Laughter. I forced a small smile. "No, but seriously," she continued, raising her glass. "I like to joke that I'm married for potential, but the ROI's been steady. Nothing flashy. Like mutual funds." The table burst out laughing. Someone muttered, "Oh my God, that's brutal." "And reliable," Chelsea added quickly, touching my arm like that softened it. "Like a Honda. He's my economic Honda." More laughter. Her voice was bright, rehearsed. Like she'd tested that line in the mirror a few times. I stayed still, chewing slowly. My ears burned. I could feel people sneaking glances at me, trying not to show pity, or worse, amusement. I nodded like it was fine, like I wasn't unraveling. I pulled out my wallet, flagged down the waiter, and handed over my card before dessert even hit the table. Chelsea didn't notice. She was too busy taking a photo of her drink against the candlelight. When the bill came, I signed it without flinching. For digits, after tip. As we walked out, she slipped her arm through mine and whispered, "Thanks, babe. You were a good sport." In the car, she scrolled through photos on her phone, humming along to whatever was playing on the radio. Her dress sparkled under the streetlights. At home, she kicked off her heels, grabbed some overnight oats from the fridge, and sat at the kitchen island like nothing happened. "Don't be weird about it," she said when I didn't speak. "It was a joke. You're not actually mad, are you?" I opened a cabinet and pulled out a glass. She kept talking, half laughing. "God, Ray, you're so sensitive sometimes." I nodded, said nothing. My mind was already elsewhere. That night, when she fell asleep watching a documentary with her phone screen still glowing beside her pillow, I sat at the dining table and opened my laptop. Bank logins, investment accounts, savings. In 20 minutes, I locked her out of the joint accounts. In 30, I rerouted the auto deposits. By dawn, I had opened 3 new private accounts under my name, with discrete transfers scheduled. I wasn't angry. I wasn't screaming. I was done being her economic Honda. That was the moment I stopped being her financial foundation and started being her exit strategy. Only she didn't know it yet. And she wouldn't, not until the rug was already gone. It started small. 3 days after the dinner, Chelsea's phone buzzed while we were both in the kitchen. She was standing barefoot in front of the Nespresso machine, tapping her nails against the counter. "What the hell?" she muttered, frowning. "My gym key isn't working." I glanced over my coffee. She opened an email and squinted. "It says my payment didn't go through. Must be a bank glitch." I nodded like that made sense. She cursed softly and shot off a message to her trainer, apologizing for missing Pilates. The next morning, her card declined at Juice Theory. I watched from the driver's seat as she came back to the car empty-handed, fake smile glued on for the cashier, eyes narrowed in irritation the second the door closed. "They said it didn't go through," she huffed. "Again. Maybe call the bank?" I offered, sipping my coffee. "See what's up." She waved her phone, annoyed. "Already on it. They said there's some kind of maintenance thing on our joint checking. Probably nothing." It wasn't nothing, but I just nodded. By Thursday, she was texting me while I was at work. "Did you move stuff around? I'm getting overdraft alerts. Did the savings account change names? I can't log in. I swear something's wrong. Call me." I didn't respond right away. I waited until I got home, put down my briefcase, and poured myself a drink. She was standing in the living room, arms crossed. "Okay, what is going on?" "With what?" "Our accounts. Everything's locked or gone." "Did you move the money?" I took a long sip and shrugged. "Just moved the money I earned into places I can monitor more easily." "That okay." Her mouth opened, then shut. You didn't even tell me. You didn't tell me I was a Honda at dinner. I met her eyes. But you seemed okay with that. She flushed. It was a joke, Ray. I didn't reply. I just walked upstairs. The next day, things escalated. I got a call around noon. She was at a boutique with 2 influencer friends. Something about an impromptu styling session for a brand collab. Her voice was tight, controlled. My card declined. Yeah, in front of everyone. I'm sure you handled it. Silence on the line. Later, I checked her Instagram story. The boutique tag was gone. The mirror selfies had disappeared, but someone else had already reposted the clip of her giggling with shopping bags in hand. The illusion was cracking. That weekend, she tried using the gym again. Nothing. Not even a try again later. Just a cold red light and a turned head from the receptionist. By Sunday, she was in full PR mode. Babe, she said, gently, over dinner. Can you fix this? I'm being embarrassed. I tilted my head. It's just a bit of fun. Lighten up. Her jaw clenched. And I recognized the look in her eyes, that same look I'd worn for 19 years. It was her turn to start unraveling. I just kept chewing. She cornered me on a Tuesday night. I was in the garage, tightening a hinge on one of the cabinet doors, something she hadn't noticed needed fixing. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, backlit by the hallway light. Are we seriously doing this now? She asked. I didn't look up. Doing what? This weird, silent punishment thing. Are you mad about that dinner? Because if you are, just say it. Stop being passive-aggressive. I set the screwdriver down carefully, then turned toward her. You want to talk about it? Yes. Please. I wiped my hands on a towel and nodded toward the kitchen. Fine. She followed me in, full of practiced confidence. She sat at the island, one leg crossed over the other, phone beside her like a shield. I'm not trying to fight, she started. I just need to know what's happening with the money. Every time I try to pay for something, it gets declined. People are noticing. I opened a drawer and pulled out a black folder, thick, clean, matte. I laid it on the island between us. She didn't touch it. What is that? A timeline, I said, of the last 19 years. Expenses. Contributions. A breakdown of who paid for what, and when. Just in case you forgot. She stared at it like it might bite her. Are you kidding me? No. Ray, I was joking at dinner. I leaned on the counter, keeping my voice steady. It didn't feel like a joke. She scoffed. It was a bit. Everyone knew that. Everyone laughed. That doesn't make it a joke. I've supported you too, you know. Emotionally. Spiritually. That has value. I opened the folder, flipped a few pages. Page 7 is the mortgage. Page 11 is your car. Page 18 covers all vacations. The Bali trip, which you said was comped, cost nearly $6,000. Charged to our joint account. She didn't look. She didn't blink. I didn't ask for all of that, she muttered. No. You expected it. I reached the final page. A single line in a bold font, centered. Respect isn't expensive. It's just rare. She stared at the words like they were written in another language. This is petty, she whispered. This is overdue. She closed the folder slowly, like she was trying to contain whatever she felt, if she felt anything at all. So what now? She asked. I shrugged. Now? I keep the money I earn. You figure out how to live on your own again. You're not serious. I am. Her eyes narrowed. This is financial abuse. No, I said calmly. This is accountability. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For the first time since I'd known her, she didn't have anything to say. And for the first time since we met, I didn't fill the silence. By the next morning, she was on the phone. I heard her pacing the bedroom, voice lowered but firm. Words like consult, asset freeze, and retaliation drifted through the door. She was trying to spin it, frame it, shape the story into something she could manage. By the time I came upstairs with coffee, she hung up and looked at me like I was a stranger. I talked to a lawyer, she said. I nodded. Good. Her eyes narrowed. He says what you're doing might qualify as financial abuse. Cutting off access, hiding funds. Nothing's hidden, I said. It's just mine now. She folded her arms. You think you're the only one who can play smart? No, I said. But I'm the only one who's been keeping receipts. She went silent. She wasn't used to resistance, at least not from me. That day, I called a forensic accountant. Her name was Dana. She used to be a CPA before she burned out and disappeared off the corporate map. I met her 5 years ago at a vendor conference. She was sitting alone in the back, muttering corrections under her breath during the keynote. I once helped her untangle a complicated shipping lien for a divorce case she was working on. She said she owed me one. I cashed in that favor. Dana met me at a coffee shop in Redmond, dressed like a librarian but spoke like a detective. When I slid the folder across the table, she didn't flinch. Offshore activity, she asked. 2 accounts I never opened. Funds were moved from our joint savings 4 times last year. She raised an eyebrow. Shell companies? One's a nonprofit in Montana that doesn't exist. She opened her laptop. This'll take a couple days. Quietly, Dana nodded. I know the type. They start with brand partnerships and end with identity laundering. Let's see what she buried. Back home, Chelsea was in spin mode. She posted a photo of herself holding a coffee cup with a caption that read, "Sometimes the hardest storms teach you who you are." Blackheart. The comments poured in sympathy, speculation, confusion. She turned off comments an hour later. That night, I printed screenshots of every transaction, every message where she claimed I was her safety net, every email where she used my business card for a creative expense. Dana was already mapping the funds. Most of it wasn't just careless, it was deliberate. The nonprofit? A shell funneling cash into another account under her maiden name. The retreat, in Tulum? Paid for by a card opened in my name, tied to a fake business she created through Stripe. Every lie had a trail. She was careful, but I had been invisible long enough to see everything. She told her friends I was being controlling. I told the banks to flag any attempt to access our records. She claimed she was scared. I sent notarized requests to remove her name from every property she hadn't paid a cent toward. She thought the game was about perception, but I had already changed the rules. I wasn't taking revenge. I was taking inventory. And when it was done, I'd leave her with something she'd never given me in 19 years. Nothing. She came home late, face tight behind oversized sunglasses, one hand gripping a green juice she hadn't paid for. I was at the dining table, sorting paperwork. I didn't say anything as she walked in. I didn't have to. She paused at the kitchen counter. It was sitting there. A simple white binder, the kind you'd use for tax prep or school reports. On the cover, in plain black font. Quarterly review. That was it. No threats. No dramatic labels. Just those 2 words. She didn't touch it right away. She stared at it like it might explode. What is this? She asked, voice low. A summary, I said without looking up. Just some recent activity I thought we should align on. She picked it up like it was radioactive, flipped to the first tab. Page 1, wire transfer logs. Page 2, a list of recurring withdrawals from joint accounts, all coded as business expenses, all traceable to a Shell LLC she opened under her college roommate's name. Page 3, screenshots from her email. Subject lines like, move funds before Ray sees, and need this in cash, don't ask. She didn't flip much further. Her fingers started to tremble just holding the binder. You went through my stuff? She whispered. No, I said calmly. I went through mine. You just happened to leave footprints all over it. She slowly closed it and set it back down. I could see it in her face, the sick realization. This wasn't just a fight. This was a dossier. And it had been built entirely from her own words, her own clicks, her own carelessness. You planning to use this? She asked. I met her eyes. I already did. A beat of silence. Then she laughed, a single, brittle sound. You think this makes you powerful? No, I said. It makes me ready. That night, she didn't eat. She didn't post. She didn't speak. She just stood in the living room, staring out the window like the skyline might offer an escape. The binder sat on the kitchen counter for 2 full days before she dared to open it again. But by then, it didn't matter. She finally understood. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't lifted a hand. I'd simply built a record. And she knew the story was no longer hers to tell. The silence didn't hit her all at once. It came in pieces. First, the group chat. Seattle-style babes muted. Then disappeared. She scrolled back one night, confused, swiping faster. No updates. No memes. No birthday shoutouts. Nothing since the week before the boutique incident. She texted Mira, her closest ally, the one who once called their friendship ride or die on a brunch vlog. Hey babe, did we start a new thread? I think it got dropped somehow. No reply. She posted a curated flat lay the next morning, coffee, sunglasses, and a glossy hardcover with a quote in gold foil. She remembered who she was, and the game changed. 93 likes. Usually, she'd break 200 before lunch. She posted a second time that afternoon, a behind-the-scenes selfie with a caption that hinted at disruption and realignment. 40 likes. That night, she sat on the couch with her laptop open and bank tabs blinking error messages. She kept refreshing one savings page that now showed $0 and a note, account access restricted. A chill ran up her spine. Still no messages from the girls. On Saturday, she tried to host a casual gathering, nothing fancy, just a few bottles of wine, charcuterie, a borrowed flower arrangement from the brand she used to collaborate with. She ordered catering, paid expedited for delivery. Or at least she tried. The card declined. She tried another. Then another. She called the restaurant in a panic, offered to Venmo, to Zelle, to PayPal. Nothing went through. She texted her followers about the intimate creator night with her usual flourish. Only 2 people RSVP'd. One backed out an hour before, citing something with the twin school. The other, Mira, arrived 5 minutes early, holding a modest box of store-bought cookies and wearing jeans, not her usual outfit for social media appearances. Chelsea opened the door, all forced brightness. "Oh, thank God you came. It's been such a week." Mira stepped in quietly, looked around. The wine was from a bottom-shelf brand. The lighting was bad. The candles weren't lit. No one else showed up. They sat in silence for a while, each sipping slowly, the cookies untouched. Finally, Mira looked up. "Chelsea," she said gently, "you might want to call him." Chelsea stiffened. "Ray?" Mira nodded. "I don't know what happened, but people know. And they're stepping back. Quietly. No one wants to be caught in the fallout." Chelsea laughed, sharp and hollow. "What fallout?" Mira gave her a look that said it all. "This isn't about vibes anymore," she said softly. "This is about trust." Then she stood, hugged her briefly, and left. The door clicked shut, and Chelsea sat alone in a cold apartment that used to feel curated, now just quiet. In the silence, her phone lit up again, this time with a single new follower request. At Dana.FinanceTruth. No profile picture. No posts. She didn't accept. Didn't dare. For the first time, the fear wasn't about losing access. It was about being seen. It was Mira's idea to meet for lunch. She texted that morning, short and polite. "Let's catch up? Just us. Somewhere quiet." Chelsea agreed instantly. She needed the win. Someone. Anyone. They met at a small Italian place in Fremont. Low lighting, white tablecloths, jazz humming through old speakers. Not the kind of spot Mira usually picked. No natural light, no social clout. But maybe that was the point. Chelsea dressed carefully, a muted blouse, flats instead of heels. No dramatic eyeliner. Just enough to look put together without looking like she was trying. Mira was already seated when she arrived. She smiled, warm but distant. They made small talk at first. Weather. Headlines. Someone's recent divorce in the influencer circle. Chelsea waited for the shift, that opening she could step through to clear her name, fix the narrative, regain her place. But Mira stayed reserved. After the salads arrived, Chelsea finally leaned in. "Okay," she said softly, "just tell me what people are saying. I can handle it." Mira's fork paused midair. "It's not what they're saying," she replied. "It's what Ray already showed them." Chelsea's stomach dropped. She blinked. "What do you mean?" Mira took a slow sip of water. "He reached out last week. Not dramatic. Just factual." Chelsea tried to breathe, but something caught in her throat. "He's dragging me?" "Publicly." "No," Mira said gently. "Privately. Quietly. He didn't gossip. He just handed over a picture. A very clear one." Chelsea stared down at her napkin, suddenly too still. "I didn't know about the shell accounts," Mira added, almost a whisper. "Or the fake nonprofit. Or the retreat." Chelsea's jaw clenched. "Ray's not angry," Mira said. "He's done. And that's worse, isn't it?" Chelsea stood abruptly. "Excuse me." She walked past the kitchen, past the bar, straight into the restroom. It was empty. She locked herself in the farthest stall, sat down, and covered her face with both hands. And there, in that dim little bathroom with its soft jazz and citrus-scented soap, Chelsea finally broke. The sob started silent, a hiccup in her chest, then swelled into her throat like a wave. She pressed her fist to her mouth to muffle it, but it came anyway. Not just from shame, from fear. Ray had shown them, not just what she'd done, but who she really was when no one was looking. And now there was no version of the story where she could win. No edit. No filter. No comeback. Just the sound of her own sobbing echoing in a tiled room that didn't care. She came home early that day. The shoot she had planned, some last-ditch lifestyle reel for a candle company, had been quietly postponed. She said it was due to scheduling conflicts. But she knew the truth. They weren't touching her right now. No one was. The apartment felt unnervingly still. No music. No blender humming. No smell of sautéed garlic from the downstairs neighbor. Just silence. Then she heard it. A soft click near the stairs. She walked slowly toward the sound and found him there, at the bottom of the staircase, suitcase beside him, one hand on the rail, the other in his coat pocket. He didn't look up right away. He didn't have to. "You're going somewhere?" she asked. Ray nodded once, calm. "Yeah." Chelsea stared at the suitcase. Then at him. "Where?" "Away." That's not an answer. He looked at her then. Not cold. Not cruel. Just finished. "I'm not here to fight, Chels." Her throat went dry. "You're leaving." "I already left," he said gently. "I'm just taking my body with me now." She crossed her arms tightly, gripping her elbows. "So that's it." Ray didn't flinch. "It was at the night you humiliated me in front of 10 people who pretend to like you for brand synergy. That's not fair." "It's accurate." She paced, shoes tapping too fast against the hardwood. "You could have talked to me. We could have gone to therapy or something." "I did talk," he said quietly. "You called it passive-aggressive. I took control of the only thing I ever owned in this marriage, the earnings. And suddenly, I became the villain." Her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't have a retort. Just fear. "Are you going to ruin me?" she asked finally, her voice thinner than she meant. Ray paused, hand tightening on the suitcase handle. "No," he said. "You'll do that yourself." She blinked. "I'm just stepping out of the way." That landed hard. Not a threat. Not a promise. Just a fact. He stepped around her, polite as always, as if he were still the man who paid for her oat milk and platform sneakers and gently reminded her to book her mammogram. At the door, he turned back once. Looked around the apartment they'd built together, all cool tones, curated furniture, carefully placed coffee table books no one read. Then he nodded to the space like a man returning the keys to a hotel he never really felt welcome in. "Take care of yourself," he said. Then he left. No door slam. No suitcase drag. No final jab. Just quiet footsteps. And then, nothing. Chelsea stood in the middle of the room, arms still crossed, blinking hard. For years, she assumed he'd never leave because he never raised his voice. She didn't realize, people who suffer in silence also leave in silence. And when they do, they don't look back. She knew something had shifted the moment her card was declined at the pharmacy. It wasn't the first time. Not lately. But this felt different. The cashier had looked at her like she was just another customer, not Chelsea Ray, digital creator, founder of her. There was no recognition. No double take. Just the quiet swipe of a rejected card and a muttered, "Do you have another form of payment?" She went home without the moisturizer. When she opened her banking app, the balance showed $0. Across the bottom, "This account has been closed." She stared at the screen, unblinking, until it logged her out automatically. She tried her credit union next. Then the investment app. The travel rewards account. Each one greeted her with some variation of unavailable. Access denied. Contact administrator. Administrator. That word followed her into the kitchen, where a pile of unopened mail sat ignored for weeks. She sifted through it slowly, searching for something, anything, a check, a mistake, a miracle. Instead, she found 2 envelopes with her name in all caps. One was pale yellow. Thin. A simple return address from Ray's attorney. The other was heavier. White. Thick. And cold. She opened the white one first. Inside, a cleanly printed audit notice from the Department of Revenue. She scanned the paragraphs. Her heart dropped by the 3rd line. Inquiry into business activities and reported nonprofits. Ray had done it. He hadn't just walked away. He had flipped the lights on. She opened the 2nd envelope with shaking hands. Inside were separation papers. Neat. Unemotional. A list of assets. A breakdown of financial discrepancies. A line noting the removal of her name from all jointly held property. Her access to their queen and condo had already been revoked. She hadn't noticed, she hadn't been by in months. She tried calling her lawyer. Straight to voicemail. She tried texting her mother. "Call me, please." No reply. The group chats were still silent. Even Mira hadn't messaged since their last lunch. She tried to book a session with her usual accountant, but his assistant responded with a dry email. "We've decided to part ways professionally. Best of luck moving forward." Chelsea sat on the edge of her bed, clutching the audit letter. The room felt unfamiliar. like it belonged to someone she used to play on camera. The curated life, the one with the neutral palette and perfectly placed eucalyptus bundles, had gone mute. There were no emails from brands, no partnerships to post, no faux cheerful reminders to share her 5 things I'm grateful for this week. There was only this, a binder full of numbers, a file full of consequences, and an inbox full of silence. And when she looked in the mirror, really looked, she didn't see a brand. She saw a woman who used to have everything, and never saw the one man who made it all possible. Until he was gone. The envelope arrived without a return address. Plain. White. Handwritten. She almost threw it out with the rest, the bank notices, the unsubscribed catalogs, the final warnings. But something about it made her pause. Inside was a single, yellowing receipt, folded neatly. She opened it slowly, confused. It was from a roadside diner outside Spokane. Dated 17 years ago. 1 coffee. 1 cinnamon roll. $6.85. Scribbled at the bottom, just below the total, were 2 words in familiar handwriting. First date. Chelsea stared at it for a long time, the edges soft with age. No note. No explanation. Just memory. She almost didn't see the second slip of paper tucked behind it. Smaller. Torn from a notepad. 1 sentence. Back then, your laughter was honest. Her throat tightened. She folded it again carefully, slid it back into the envelope, and placed it on the kitchen counter, the same place where the quarterly review binder had once sat. Later that night, she opened her laptop. Not to scroll. Not to work. Just to look. She found the dinner video within seconds. The one from the influencer celebration, the night she'd toasted herself in front of her friends, in front of him. She hit play. Her voice rang through the speakers, too loud, too sharp. I joke that Ray's the ROI husband, reliable, nothing flashy, like a mutual fund or a Honda. Laughter. Her friends howled, some nearly spilling wine. She laughed too, a high, curated cackle, practiced from years of performing. Ray sat next to her, smiling faintly. Not hurt. Not angry. Just still. She hadn't noticed it at the time. How quiet he'd gone. How alone he looked in that moment. She had been too busy waiting for the punchline to land. She watched the clip again. And again. By the 4th loop, she wasn't smiling anymore. She stared at her own face on the screen, the tilt of her head, the way she reached for his arm after the joke, as if that tiny gesture made it all okay. It didn't. She clicked pause. The image froze with Ray looking at her, but not really seeing her. Or maybe he had seen her more clearly than she'd ever seen him. She sat there for a long time, the room silent but for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Then, without even realizing it, she pressed play again. The laughter echoed. Her own voice looped once more. Like a Honda, she said, smiling at the camera. Only now it sounded different. Not funny. Not harmless. It sounded like the beginning of an ending. She watched it again. And again. Until it was no longer a memory. Just a warning. A loop. Of a man who sat through her worst moments with dignity and chose to walk away without a word. And of a woman who thought she was the main character, only to realize, too late, that the story was never about her at all. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel and share your opinion about this story in the comments.